Taiwan, I'm Laurel Stewart with the news from here in Taiwan and around the world. US President Donald Trump appears to have softened his stance on Taiwan and its dominance in the critical semiconductor sector, just days after Taiwanese chipmaker TSMC announced a massive investment in the United States. Joyce Zeng has more.
A change in tone from U.S. President Donald Trump days after appearing with TSMC Chair and CEO C.C. Wei at the White House. Wei was there to announce the Taiwanese chip giant's plan to invest an additional $100 billion in its operations in the U.S. state of Arizona. Now, before this announcement, Trump had repeatedly accused Taiwan of stealing America's chip business, a sentiment that Trump is now repeating once again, but with an important caveat that he does not blame Taiwan for its dominance.
We gradually lost the chip business, and now it's almost exclusively in Taiwan. They stole it from us. They took it from us, and I don't blame them. I give them credit. I blame the people that were sitting in this seat because they allowed it to happen.
Speaking from the Oval Office, Trump also gave a brief history of the U.S. tech giant Intel, once a dominant force in the industry, but now struggling for years to keep up with competitors like TSMC in Taiwan and Samsung and SK Hynix in South Korea. Back in Taiwan, TSMC's U.S. plans have split public opinion. Some worry Taiwan could lose the upper hand in the globally important industry and erode its silicon shield, the idea that TSMC's dominance can protect Taiwan from threats, including a Chinese invasion. Taiwan President Lai Ching-te, however, has backed the historic investment, saying it strengthens U.S. ties with Taiwan. Remember, this is all coming after weeks of anxiety for the chip sector after Trump threatened to impose tariffs on the critical tech, something TSMC could avoid by manufacturing in the U.S. But amid all these geopolitical forces, TSMC's Wei has clarified that the reason for its investment is first and foremost to meet soaring demand of its customers. Alex Chen and Joyce Zhen in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
The US has once again become Taiwan's biggest export market, surpassing China. Finance Ministry data shows the value of Taiwan's exports to the US reached nearly $12 billion in February, mostly due to strong demand for AI hardware. Taiwan's exports to the US also hit their highest share of total exports in more than 25 years. Exports to Mexico have also surged this year. Taiwan's military has wrapped up its annual Skyhorse drills, where the army fires wire-guided missiles at targets. Typically a media spectacle, this year's drills were conducted in secret. That's a decision that's sparking debate. Jaime Ocon reports.
A caravan of military vehicles caught leaving a secret shooting area in Taiwan's southern county of Pingdong. And off in the distance, missiles whiz through the mountains. These are the annual exercises known as the Skyhorse drill, which practice using a special kind of weapon known as the tow missile, a guided missile that can be fired from over 3 kilometers and can destroy tanks and other armored vehicles.
以前的托式飞弹呢，它是在飞弹射击之后呢，士兵呢会顺着一个飞弹之后的延伸的一个导线看这个导线呢去命中目标。拖2B之后呢，它已经扬弃了这个在飞弹后面呢拖了2根导线的一个弹轴换句话来说呢，它就可以转移到它的下一个目标去从事另外一个战车的接战这个呢带给士兵很大一个便利性。这个英文叫 fire and forget。
The weapons are a key part of Taiwan's asymmetric defense strategy, which centers on small but mobile firepower that still packs a punch. Taiwan used to do this exercise on the coastline, firing dozens of missiles into the ocean. And while that helps with shooting practice, the exercises have been criticized for being too static. But this year's exercise is a first on this mountainside near Hengchun on Taiwan's southern tip and away from the public. Some analysts say that it could be part of a push for more realistic exercises as Taiwan tries to reform its defense strategy and get a better understanding of how to use these weapons.
大概除了恒春地区之外呢， 好像没有其他地方，因为我们的地理环境位置说真的是太窄。其实真正的拟真的状况应该是说，这一批的适量的悍马车设计完毕之后呢，赶紧移动到所谓的 V 地那这个 V 地呢可能是300-400公尺外的。
Last year, the Army was criticized for its poor target accuracy after training in front of the media. And so they could be moving where they train to give more freedom to practice without fear of looking bad.
The advantage of being away from the kind of public side is, I think, at least in my mind, demonstrates a certain seriousness of purpose. That we're not here for the cameras. We're not here for public morale. We've all taken a test at some point in our lives. Just imagine how much harder that test would be if someone were standing over your shoulder evaluating you while you're taking that test.
These exercises are just one of dozens of different kinds of drills that Taiwan is trying to modernize and make more realistic, with the eventual hope that it can perfect its marksmanship, with or without the spotlight of the public. Fu Huahong and Jaime Okan for TaiwanPlus.
Japan and the UK are strengthening their commitment to free trade after holding their first ever 2+2 economic talks.
Economic security is national security. That is why the UK and Japan have agreed to enhance our economic security partnership. Our close relationship means that we can be important partners for each other on this. In fact, at this time, we must be.
The meeting, which brought together foreign and economic ministers from both countries, aimed to deepen the UK and Japan's economic and defence ties. It comes as US President Donald Trump has signalled a dramatic turn away from free trade, slapping big tariffs on imports from countries around the world, including allies. A tech executive in Taipei was allegedly stabbed to death by his boss on Friday. Police are investigating the chair of Cubo AI after he allegedly attacked and killed the company's senior technology officer at their Taipei office. Police say the incident followed a workplace dispute, which escalated after the executive announced his resignation in a company group chat. Today marks a year since tougher laws on sexual harassment came into effect. They're meant to bring harsher penalties for bosses and other people in positions of power who sexually harass workers. They also make employers responsible for preventing and addressing incidents. But how much of a difference have these changes made? Louise Watt spoke to Doris Chang, a women's rights activist in Taipei.
It's been a year since Taiwan made changes to its gender equality laws. How do you view the results of those changes?
Obviously, we're very pleased that the laws have been passed. These laws ensure that there are additional protections for victims, the penalties have been increased, and also it shows that society as a whole and the state in particular prioritizes women and minorities' rights, right? In terms of if things happen and they're able to report things. However, the legal reforms primarily address the formal mechanisms that are in place. So they don't really address the underlying societal issues that allowed these incidents to take place in the first place. However, this is not to say that there hasn't been any change whatsoever within civil society or on a societal front. So, for example, we can see that there are more victims who are willing to come forth after the Me Too movement. In addition, there have been improvements within Taiwanese civil society to create environments that prioritize and have a better understanding of gender-based violence and power-based violence due to the Me Too movement that occurred last year.
That was Doris Chang, a women's rights activist based in Taipei. As the government continues to debate how to protect women in Taiwan, a traditional Taiwanese opera offers a different perspective on gender, one of fluidity and transformation. On International Women's Day, we see how women step into the roles of fearless warriors, while men master the grace of traditionally female roles. Cadence Caranta takes us there.
It's a battle of wits and strength on stage, and it's also a challenge to strict gender roles. Spear in hand, this warrior looks like a heroic man, but under the makeup is a woman. In this operatic art form created in Taiwan, women have long played male roles. This warrior on stage is portrayed by Sun Shipei, one of the many women continuing the legacy of Taiwanese opera. For performers like Sun, their transformation begins long before stepping onto the stage.
其实我每次接到不同的角色的诠释的时候，我会先把性别给放下，然后针对这个角色人物的个性还有内在的一个状态，然后去做更多的探讨。演员呢，借由演出在戏台上，将自己的梦把它给演出来，然后呢，我带着观众一起来做梦。
Those dreams come to life when Sun and other female actors become male characters on stage. Those transformations also happen when male actors take on female roles. Taiwanese opera, or 歌仔戏, originated as a male-dominated art form. In the early days, all roles, including female characters, were performed by men. But over time, there was a dramatic shift. Today, it's mostly women who take the stage, with female performers embodying male lead roles. Legends like Yang Lihua have become national icons through their portrayal of emperors, warriors, and princes, leaving lasting impressions on audiences. Some have even made history, like Chen Yalan, who was the first woman to win Taiwan's most prestigious television award in a male category.
这是史上第一位女演员入围金钟奖最佳戏剧男主角奖，并得奖获此殊荣。
Chen's historic win inspired countless performers. Jian Yulin has led a Taiwanese opera troupe in rural eastern Taiwan for nearly 2 decades. For Jian, Chen's victory was greater than just personal recognition. She says it represents the openness of Taiwanese society.
他并没有说你一定要是男生才能拿到男生的奖，我就觉得台湾这一点让我觉得太赞了，因为他要的就是一个在舞台上演男生最棒、呈现最好的，他就可以来当视帝。
Taiwanese opera started informally. At first, people would gather around to listen to each other tell stories. Eventually, they set up stages to perform those stories in open spaces next to temples, which have been community hubs for Taiwanese people throughout history. Over the years, opera performances have continued to reflect the lives of everyday people, evolving with society's changing values.
那如果说像以女性反串男性来讲的话，第一个除了多元化之外，我们是一个非常民主的国家嘛，所以我觉得这样的文化以及这样的环境，孕育出这样的人，以及孕育出这样的传统文化出来，它是非常多面向性的东西。
所以有的人会觉得说，看男练或怎么练的，不是很奇怪吗？可是我会觉得现在的社会是很自然的事情。
Taiwanese opera has long embraced avant-garde themes, making space for theater groups like this one called Yixin Taiwanese Opera Troupe to experiment with daring same-sex love stories and modern storytelling.
我怎么样让整出戏去说服观众？因为戏曲是要反映人生嘛，我们是在演绎很多人不同的人生。
现在我们人生遇到的很多社会上的一些议题，我们都会把它融入在我们新编戏里面，所以让能够来看戏的观众会更有共鸣，也可以吸引更多年轻的观众进入到剧场，然后去知道说现在的歌仔戏跟以前的是不一样的。
Taiwanese opera is a living reflection of Taiwan's evolving society. As long as society continues to change, Taiwanese opera will continue to grow with it, reflecting social changes and inspiring new ways of thinking. Joseph Wu, Peachy Zhuang, Billy Wu, and Cadence Karanta for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Before we go, check out these dogs performing at an international dog show in the UK. I'm Laurel Stewart. Take care and see you next time.